The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council had stood for 9,000 years. Its chamber was carved from the core of a captured moon, large enough to hold representatives from over 800 species. Light fell from crystal formations in the ceiling, painting everything in shades of gold and silver. The walls rose so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. It was designed to make anyone standing at the speaker's platform feel small. Ambassador Thomas Red felt exactly that as he stepped onto the platform. He was 47 years old, a former history professor who had spent his entire career studying how civilizations met and clashed. Now he stood at the center of the greatest gathering of civilizations in the known universe, wearing a simple dark suit, while creatures of impossible shape and size stared down at him from their elevated seats. The triumvirate sat highest of all. 3 beings who had ruled the council for longer than humanity had possessed written language. First was the Arbiter, a creature of pure thought given physical form through technology, so advanced it seemed like magic. Second was the Lord Commander of the Nexari Dominion, a massive insectoid being with armor that gleamed like polished bronze. Third was the Elder Mind, a being so ancient that no one remembered what species it had originally belonged to. 17,000 aliens watched Thomas read in complete silence. The Arbiter spoke first. Its voice did not come from any mouth, but seemed to appear directly in the mind of every being present. Human representative, you have been summoned to answer for the actions of your species. Do you understand the gravity of this tribunal? Thomas kept his hands steady at his sides. His heart was beating faster than he would have liked, but his voice remained calm. I understand that you have accused humanity of a serious crime. Not accused, the Lord Commander rumbled. Proven. 6 standard days ago, your vessel designated UNS Meridian entered the territory of the Valthan Trading Collective without authorization. The vessel was warned to withdraw. Instead, it advanced further into Valthan space. The Valthan Defense Fleet responded as was their right under galactic law. Thomas nodded slowly. The Valthan fleet destroyed the Meridian with all hands. 43 humans died, including Ambassador Lydia Cole, who was carrying a formal request for diplomatic relations. The Valthan acted within their legal authority, the Elder Mind said. Its voice was like wind through dead leaves. Unauthorized vessels in sovereign territory may be treated as hostile. Your species knew this. Your ambassador entered anyway. The fault lies with humanity. I see. Thomas clasped his hands behind his back. And why has humanity been summoned here? If the Valthan were within their rights, what crime has been committed? The chamber stirred. Whispers in 100 different languages rippled through the assembled delegates. The Arbiter raised what might have been a hand, and silence fell again. You know precisely why you are here, human. What your species did in response to the Meridian's destruction has violated every principle of civilized behavior. You have committed an act so extreme that many here believe your kind must be eliminated before you become a greater threat. Thomas tilted his head slightly. Perhaps you should describe this act for the record. The Lord Commander leaned forward, compound eyes gleaming with barely contained fury. Do not play games with us, mammal. 31 hours after the Meridian was destroyed, something emerged from the outer reaches of the Valthan system. Your ships, yes, but not like any we had seen before. The Valthan Defense Fleet moved to intercept. 900 warships, the finest military force in that sector. He paused, mandibles clicking in what might have been disbelief. They were gone in 8 minutes. Not destroyed in any way, our sensors could understand. Simply gone. No debris. No energy signatures. Nothing. As if they had never existed. The chamber erupted. Alien voices rose in a cacophony of fear and outrage. Thomas waited patiently as the noise washed over him, his expression unchanged. The Arbiter restored order with a pulse of mental energy that left. several weaker delegates clutching their heads. What followed was worse. Your vessels proceeded to the Valfin homeworld, a planet of 11 billion souls. They surrounded it and broadcast a single message. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a blue-green world circled by human ships that seemed impossibly small against the planet's bulk. Then a voice spoke, a human voice, calm and measured. You killed our people. You were warned that this would have consequences. Remember this day. Remember what you brought upon yourselves. The hologram showed what happened next. A pulse of something that was not light and not energy spread from the human vessels. It touched the planet, and the planet simply ceased to exist. Not exploded, not burned, just gone. Where 11 billion Valfin had lived moments before, there was now only empty space and drifting debris that had once been their moons. The hologram faded. The silence in the chamber was absolute. You erased a species, the Elder Mind said. In the entire history of this council, such a thing has happened only twice before, and those responsible were hunted to extinction themselves. Explain yourself, human. Explain how a species that discovered faster than light, traveled barely 2 centuries ago, possesses a weapon that can delete a planet from existence. Explain why we should not combine our fleets and burn Earth to ashes before you can use this weapon again. Thomas Reed looked up at the triumvirate. Then he looked around the vast chamber at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him with fear and hatred and something else. Something that might have been desperate hope that he could somehow make this make sense. You want me to explain, he said quietly. Very well. He reached into his jacket pocket. Every weapon in the chamber immediately trained on him. Guards of a dozen different species materialized around the platform, ready to tear him apart at the slightest provocation. Thomas pulled out a small data chip and held it up. This contains a complete recording of what happened to the Meridian. Not the official Valfin report. The actual sensor data recovered from a probe we had hidden in the system. He pressed a button on the chip. A new hologram appeared, showing the Meridian drifting peacefully in space, broadcasting its diplomatic identification on all frequencies. Ambassador Cole followed every protocol, Thomas said. She announced herself. She requested permission to approach. She waited for a response. The hologram showed a Valfin ship approaching the Meridian. Then, without warning, it opened fire. The Meridian's shields held for nearly 30 seconds before failing. The ship broke apart. Escape pods launched. 43 people aboard, Thomas continued. 31 made it to escape pods. The hologram showed the Valfin ship systematically hunting down each pod and destroying it with precise weapons fire. The last pod, tumbling toward the safety of an asteroid field, was caught and torn apart just before reaching cover. Ambassador Cole was in that pod, Thomas said. She survived the initial attack. She sent one final transmission before she died. A woman's voice filled the chamber, tight with pain but still controlled. This is Ambassador Lydia Cole. I am dying. I want whoever receives this to know that we came in peace. We came with open hands and open hearts. This is not what we wanted. Remember that. Remember who we tried to be. The recording ended. Thomas lowered the data chip. The Valfin didn't defend their territory from invaders. They murdered diplomats who were trying to start a conversation. They hunted down survivors and killed them one by one. And then they lied about it to this council. He looked directly at the Lord Commander. You asked why we did what we did. You asked how we have such weapons. Let me answer both questions. We developed these weapons because we are a young species in a very old galaxy. We have seen how the older powers treat those they consider beneath them. We have watched your fleets casually exterminate species that displeased you. We have read your histories and seen that the only law in this galaxy is Power. So we built power. Quietly, secretly, while you all watched us stumbling through our first centuries of space travel and laughed at our primitive technology. We were developing something else entirely. Thomas smiled, and there was no warmth in it at all. The Valthan thought we were weak because we sent diplomats instead of warships. They thought we were naive because we asked for friendship instead of demanding respect. They were wrong. We did not want this. Ambassador Cole died trying to prevent exactly this outcome. But you took that choice away from us. He turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. Humanity came to the stars, hoping to find friends. Instead, we found a galaxy ruled by fear and violence, where the strong crush the weak and call it law. We adapted. We learned. And now you know what we are capable when someone hurts our people. The Arbiter's presence pressed against Thomas's mind like a weight. Are you threatening this council, human? No, I am making a promise. Thomas straightened his jacket. We have no desire for war. We have no plans to use our weapons unless we are attacked again. But understand this clearly. The next species that murders our people will share the fate of the Valthan. We did not start this, but we will finish it. He looked up at the triumvirate one final time. Now then, shall we discuss terms for peaceful coexistence? Or would you prefer to learn firsthand what else we have built in our quiet little corner of the galaxy? The chamber remained silent. 800 species, thousands of years of accumulated power and wisdom, and not one of them knew what to say. For the first time in its 9,000-year history, the Galactic Council was afraid, and standing alone on the speaker's platform, wearing a simple dark suit, Ambassador Thomas Reed waited for their answer. 3 weeks had passed since Ambassador Thomas Reed stood before the Galactic Council and changed everything. In those 3 weeks, the galaxy had transformed in ways that no one could have predicted. On Earth, Dr. Helena Vasquez sat alone in her laboratory, staring at the screens that showed the weapon she had created. The Genesis device, they called it. The thing that had erased 11 billion Valthan from existence in less than a heartbeat. Her invention. Her legacy. She had not slept properly since the attack. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that planet disappearing. 11 billion lives gone because she had built something that should never have existed. The door to her laboratory opened. Captain Marcus Webb walked in, still wearing his fleet uniform. He was the one who had commanded the attack on Valthan Prime, the one who had given the order to fire. You need to eat something, he said quietly. You've been in here for 2 days. Helena did not look at him. How do you live with it? Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled up a chair and sat down beside her. I don't know yet. I thought I would feel satisfaction. They killed Lydia. They killed everyone on the Meridian. I thought revenge would feel like justice. And does it? It feels like nothing. Like there's a hole where something used to be. He rubbed his face with both hands. 11 billion people, Helena. I keep trying to understand that number. I can't. The human mind isn't built to comprehend that much death. Helena finally turned to face him. Her eyes were red from crying and lack of sleep. Then why did you do it? Because Reed told me to. Because the president told me to. Because everyone was so angry and so scared, and no one stopped to ask if this was really what we wanted to become. He leaned back in his chair. I'm not making excuses. I gave the order. I'll carry that forever. But I need you to understand something, Helena. What? The Genesis device is not what we told the council it was. Helena went very still. What do you mean? Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small tablet. He activated it and handed it to her. The screen showed technical readouts, power consumption data, and a single terrifying number. 3, Helena whispered. There are only 3 devices, and 2 of them burned out during the attack on Valfin Prime. The power requirements were far beyond what your models predicted. We have 1 functional Genesis device left, and based on these readings, it might not even work properly if we tried to use it again. Helena stared at the tablet. Reed told the Council we had dozens of these weapons. He told them we could erase any species that threatened us. He lied. We all lied. Because the alternative was admitting that we're still exactly as vulnerable as we were before. 1 working weapon against an entire galaxy. If they ever find out the truth, they'll destroy us. A cold feeling settled in Helena's stomach. Who else knows? Reed, the President. The Joint Chiefs. And now you. Marcus leaned forward. There's something else. Something worse. How could it possibly be worse? Someone has been transmitting data off-world. Encrypted bursts, hidden in routine communications. We traced the source to someone with high-level security clearance. Someone who has access to information about the Genesis device. Helena felt the blood drain from her face. A traitor. Someone is telling the galaxy our secret. If they haven't already revealed that our ultimate weapon is almost useless, they will soon. We have maybe days before this whole house of cards comes crashing down. Before Helena could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. Emergency bulkheads started closing automatically. Marcus was on his feet instantly, pulling his sidearm. What's happening? Helena checked her screens. Her face went pale. Someone is accessing the Genesis device remotely. They're trying to download the complete technical specifications. Can you stop them? I'm trying. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. The access codes they're using are military grade. This is someone inside our own security structure. Marcus grabbed his communicator. This is Captain Webb. I need a security team to Lab 7 immediately. We have a data breach in progress. The lights flickered. Helena's screens went dark for a moment, then came back online, showing a message that made her blood run cold. Too late. The galaxy will know the truth. Humanity cannot be allowed to threaten civilized species with a weapon of mass extinction. They got it, Helena said. They got everything. Specifications, power requirements, the truth about how many devices we actually have. Marcus slammed his fist against the wall. Who would do this? Who would betray their own species? The answer came from an unexpected source. A holographic display activated in the center of the lab, showing a face that both of them recognized instantly. Admiral Patricia Stone, commander of Earth's Third Fleet, one of the most decorated officers in human history. She was standing in what looked like a ship's bridge, wearing her full dress uniform. Captain Webb, Dr. Vasquez, I imagine you have questions. Marcus raised his weapon, even though he knew it was useless against a hologram. Admiral Stone? You're the traitor? I prefer to think of myself as a realist. Stone's expression was calm, almost serene. What we did to the Valfin was monstrous. 11 billion lives, Marcus. We murdered an entire species because a few of them killed our diplomats. How is that any different from what they did to us? They started it, Marcus said through gritted teeth, and we finished it in the most extreme way possible. We showed the galaxy that humanity's response to being hurt is total annihilation. Do you have any idea how that makes us look? Do you have any idea what we've become? Helena stepped forward. Where are you transmitting this information, Admiral? To everyone who needs to know. The Nexari Dominion, the collective of minds, the elder races. They're all learning right now that humanity's terrifying weapon is barely functional. That we have one device left, and it might not even work. You've killed us all, Marcus said. When they find out the truth, they'll come for Earth. They might. Or they might offer us mercy, something we refused to show the Valthan. I've also transmitted Dr. Vasquez's complete research. Any species that wants to can now build their own Genesis device. Mutually assured destruction, Captain. The only thing that might keep any of us safe. Helena felt sick. You gave planet-killing technology to aliens? Hundreds of different species now have the ability to erase worlds from existence? Balance, Stone said simply. If everyone has the weapon, no one can use it without facing the same fate. It's the only path to lasting peace. It's the path to total annihilation, Marcus said. One mistake, one misunderstanding, an entire species will start disappearing. Stone's expression flickered with something that might have been doubt. Perhaps. But that's no longer my concern. My ship is currently accelerating away from human space at maximum speed. By the time you could intercept me, I'll be in neutral territory where the Council has guaranteed my safety. The Council? They're protecting you? Some of them. The ones who understand that humanity needed to be stopped before we became worse than any threat the galaxy has ever faced. Stone straightened her uniform. Goodbye, Captain. Doctor. I hope I'm wrong about what comes next. I truly do. The hologram vanished. Marcus and Helena stood in silence for a long moment. Then Marcus activated his communicator again. Get me Ambassador Reed. Tell him we have a situation. On the other side of human space, far from Earth, a very different conversation was taking place. Ambassador Kira Okonkwo had been stationed at the edge of human territory for 3 years, monitoring the border with the Nexari Dominion. It was usually quiet work. The Nexari were cautious neighbors, more interested in trade than conflict. But tonight, something was different. Her sensors had detected a ship approaching, not from Nexari space, but from the direction of the unexplored regions beyond known territory. It was not broadcasting any identification codes. It was not responding to hails, and it was heading directly for her station. Unidentified vessel. This is Ambassador Kira Okonkwo of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Silence. The ship continued to approach. Kira checked her readings again. The vessel was large, much larger than anything humanity had built. Its design was like nothing in any database. Angular, almost organic, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Then her communication system crackled, and a voice spoke in perfect English. Ambassador Okonkwo, we have been watching your species with great interest. We watched you come to the stars. We watched you try to make peace. We watched you fail. Kira's mouth went dry. Who are you? We are what came before. The ones who built the gates between stars. The ones who seeded life across this galaxy and then stepped back to watch what would grow. The precursors, Kira whispered. Every species in the galaxy had legends about them. The ancient race that had vanished millions of years ago, leaving only ruins and mysteries behind. We have waited a very long time for a species like yours. A species capable of both great compassion and great destruction. A species that might be ready to learn what we have to teach. What do you want? To offer you a choice. The same choice we offered others long ago. The choice that determines whether your species will ascend or fall. The massive ship stopped directly in front of Kira's station. Its hull began to glow with patterns of light that formed symbols she somehow understood without knowing how. The galaxy believes you are monsters. They believe you will destroy everything you touch. We believe you might be something else entirely. Come with us, Ambassador Okonkwo. Come and learn what humanity could become. Kira stared at the ship for a long moment. Then she reached for her communicator to contact Earth. But before she could transmit, every light on her station went dark. Every system shut down. And the voice spoke one final time. Your leaders cannot help you make this choice. This decision must be yours alone. Choose ambassador. The fate of your species depends on your answer. In the darkness of her dead station, facing an impossibly ancient ship from beyond known space, Kira Okonkwo realized that everything was about to change. The only question was whether she would be brave enough to change with it. Ambassador. Kira Okonkwo made her choice. She stepped aboard the ancient ship and let it carry her into the unknown. For 3 days, she traveled through regions of space that no human had ever seen. The beings who called themselves the Precursors did not show themselves directly. They communicated through their ship, through lights and sounds, and sometimes through thoughts that appeared in her mind without warning. They showed her things. Visions of the galaxy as it had been millions of years ago, filled with thousands of thriving civilizations. They showed her how those civilizations had grown and expanded, and eventually turned on each other in wars that burned across entire star systems. They showed her how the Precursors had intervened, using technology beyond anything Kira could understand to end the conflicts and establish the order that still governed. The galaxy today, and they showed her what had happened to the species that refused to stop fighting. Empty worlds, dead stars, entire regions of space where nothing lived because nothing could live anymore. The Precursors had not destroyed these species. They had simply removed the conditions that made life possible in their territories. We hoped it would not come to this with your kind, the ship said as it carried Kira through a field of cosmic debris that had once been a thriving star system. We hoped you would choose peace. We did choose peace, Kira replied. We sent diplomats. We asked for friendship. And when your diplomats were killed, you responded with extinction. You showed the galaxy that humanity's patience has limits, and that when those limits are reached, you become the most dangerous creatures in existence. The Valthan murdered our people. Yes, and in response, you murdered their entire species. Every child, every elder, every being who had nothing to do with the attack on your ship. All of them gone, because some of their people made a terrible choice. Kira had no answer to that. The weight of what humanity had done pressed down on her in the silence of that dead system. This is why we have come, the ship continued, because we see two paths before your species. One leads to greatness beyond anything you can imagine. The other leads here to empty space and forgotten names. What do you want me to do? Return to your people. Tell them what you have seen, and deliver our message. Back on Earth, chaos reigned. Admiral Stone's betrayal had spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. Every major power now knew that humanity's terrifying weapon was almost exhausted. The Nexari Dominion had already begun mobilizing its fleets. The Collective of Minds had sealed its borders and was refusing all communication. Even species that had shown interest in allying with humanity were now backing away, afraid of being caught in the crossfire of what seemed like an inevitable war. Ambassador Thomas Reed stood in the Situation Room beneath the presidential palace, surrounded by military commanders and political leaders, who all looked to him for answers he did not have. We have 72 hours at most before the Nexari fleet reaches striking distance of our outer colonies. General Robert Hawley was saying, if they coordinate with the Collective, we'll be fighting on two fronts simultaneously. Can we hold them? President Diana Moss asked. Without the Genesis device, we would need to fight a conventional war against opponents who outnumber us approximately 40,000 to 1. Our technology is good, but not that good. What about the remaining device? Can Dr. Vasquez get it working? Captain Marcus Webb stepped forward. Dr. Vasquez has been working around the clock. She believes she can restore the device to partial functionality within 48 hours. But she says Firing it again might destroy the device completely, and there's no guarantee it will work as intended. So we get one shot, Reed said. One use of a weapon that might not even function properly, against enemies who now have the blueprints to build their own versions. Admiral Stone has doomed us all. General Hawley growled. Admiral Stone believed she was saving the galaxy from monsters. Reed's voice was tired. And looking at what we did to the Valthan, can any of us honestly say she was wrong? The room went quiet. No one wanted to be the first to answer that question, as silence was broken by an alert from the communication system. A signal was coming in from the outer edge of human space. The identification codes marked it as Ambassador Kira Okongwa's diplomatic beacon. She's been missing for 3 days, President Moss said. Where has she been? Reed activated the communication channel. Kira's face appeared on the main screen. She looked exhausted, but somehow transformed, as if she had seen things that had changed her fundamentally. Ambassador Okonkwo, we were worried about you. Ambassador Reed, I have been with the precursors. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. The precursors were legends, stories told around campfires on 1,000 worlds. No one had seen them in millions of years. That's impossible, General Hawley said. The precursors are extinct. They are very much alive, General. They have been watching us, watching all of us. And they have sent me back with a message. Reed leaned forward. What message? They are offering humanity a choice. We can continue on our current path, using our weapons to destroy anyone who threatens us, becoming exactly the monsters the galaxy believes we are. Or we can prove that we are capable of something better. What do they mean by something better? Kira took a deep breath. They want us to save the Nexari. The confusion in the room was palpable. President Moss spoke first. Save them? The Nexari are about to attack us. The Nexari are dying, Madam President. They have been dying for centuries. Their species suffers from a genetic disorder that is slowly making them extinct. They have tried everything to cure it. Nothing has worked. Their aggression, their militarism, their conquest of neighboring species, all of it has been driven by desperation. They conquer other worlds because they are searching for something, anything, that might save their people. And what does this have to do with us? The precursors believe that human medical science might hold the key to curing the Nexari plague. Our genetic research has taken paths that no other species has explored, but they will only give us the specific knowledge we need if we choose to help our enemies instead of destroying them. General Hawley slammed his fist on the table. This is insanity. The Nexari have fleets heading toward our colonies right now. They want to wipe us out. They want to survive, Kira said quietly. Just like us. They're doing terrible things because they're afraid, just like we did terrible things because we were afraid. Reed stood very still, thinking. If we cure them, what happens? The precursors say that if we can prove we're capable of mercy, even toward those who want to destroy us, they will share their technology with humanity. Not weapons. Something better. The ability to travel between stars instantly. The ability to terraform worlds. The ability to extend human life indefinitely. And if we refuse? Kira's expression darkened. Then they will do what they have done before. They will remove humanity from the galaxy. Not through war, not through destruction. They will simply make it so that humans never evolved in the first place. We will be erased from history, and no one will ever remember that we existed. The room fell completely silent. Everyone understood what was being offered. Everything humanity had ever dreamed of, or complete and total annihilation. All hinging on whether they could find it, in themselves to help the very species that was coming to destroy them. President Moss looked around at her advisors. How long do we have to decide? The Nexari fleet will arrive in 72 hours. The precursors say we must make our choice before then. 72 hours to save our enemies and ourselves, or die trying. Reed turned to face the assembled leaders of humanity. It seems we have a decision to make. Do we prove that we're the monsters the galaxy thinks we are? Or do we show them something unexpected? He looked at each face in turn, seeing fear and doubt and anger, but also something else. Something that might have been hope. What are we willing to become to survive? And more importantly, what are we willing to become if survival isn't enough? Captain Webb spoke into the silence. How do we even contact the Nexari? They'll shoot down any ship we send. Kira smiled slightly. I have an idea about that. But it will require the one thing humans have never been good at. What's that? Trust. Complete, unconditional trust in beings who have every reason to want us dead. She transmitted a set of coordinates to the main display. They showed a location in deep space, exactly between human territory and the advancing Nexari fleet. Meet me there in 12 hours. Bring Dr. Vasquez and her research on human genetics. And Ambassador Reed, bring whatever faith in humanity you have left. Because if this works, we're about to change the galaxy forever. And if it doesn't, we won't be around to regret it. The transmission ended. The leaders of humanity looked at each other in the silence of the Situation Room, knowing that the next 72 hours would determine whether their species lived or died. And somewhere out in the darkness between stars, ancient beings watched and waited to see what choice humanity would make. The human vessel how alone in the darkness between stars? Exactly at the coordinates Ambassador Kira Okonkwo had specified. It was a small diplomatic ship, unarmed, carrying only a handful of people who held the fate of their species in their hands. Ambassador Thomas Reed stood on the bridge, watching the empty space ahead. Beside him was Dr. Helena Vasquez, clutching a datapad that contained everything humanity knew about genetic medicine. Captain Marcus Webb had insisted on piloting the ship himself, refusing to let anyone else take the risk. And somewhere behind them, the Nexari battle fleet continued its advance toward human space. 40,000 warships, each one capable of destroying cities from orbit. They would arrive at Earth's outer colonies in less than 60 hours. Are you sure about this? Reed asked Kira for perhaps the 10th time. No, she admitted. But the precursors said this was the only way. We have to show the Nexari that we're not the monsters they believe us to be, by flying an unarmed ship directly into their path. Wonderful. By offering them something more valuable than conquest. A cure for the plague that is killing their species. Helena looked up from her datapad. I've been studying the genetic information the precursors provided. The Nexari condition is unlike anything I've ever seen. Their DNA is degrading with each generation, introducing more and more errors. If it continues, they'll be extinct within 3 centuries. Can you cure it? I think so. Human genetic research has explored pathways that the Nexari never considered. Our experience with inherited diseases, our work on gene therapy, our understanding of how to repair damaged DNA sequences. Combined with the precursor's knowledge, I believe I can develop a treatment that will stabilize their genome permanently. You believe you can, Webb said from the pilot's seat. But you're not certain. Nothing in science is certain, Captain. But I would stake my life on this working. You already are, Reed reminded her. We all are. Kira pointed at the view screen. They're here. Ships began appearing out of faster-than-light travel, dozens at first, then hundreds, then thousands. The Nexari battle fleet had sent a forward element to investigate the human vessel that had positioned itself directly in their path. Within minutes, the small diplomatic ship was surrounded by warships bristling with weapons. A communication request came through. Reed nodded to Webb, who opened the channel. The face that appeared on the view screen was insectoid, with compound eyes that reflected the bridge lights in unsettling patterns. This was Lord Admiral Threx, commander of the Nexari war fleet. His mandibles clicked as he studied the humans before him. Ambassador Reed, we expected you to be hiding behind your remaining weapon of extinction. Instead, you come to us in an unarmed ship. Is this courage or foolishness? Perhaps both, Lord Admiral. We have come to offer you something. Offer us something? Threx's compound eyes shifted, an expression that might have been contempt. Your species murdered the Valthan, erased them from existence. What could you possibly offer us that we would accept? Your lives. The silence stretched for several seconds. Finally, Threx spoke again. Explain. Reed gestured to Helena, who stepped forward. Lord Admiral, we have learned the truth about your species. We know about the genetic plague that is slowly killing your people. We know that your conquests, your wars, your relentless expansion, all of it has been a desperate search for a cure that you have never found. Threx's mandibles stopped clicking. His entire body went still. How do you know this? That information is classified at the highest levels of our government. The precursors told us. The effect of those words was immediate. Every Nexari officer visible on the view screen turned to look at Threx. The Lord Admiral himself seemed to shrink slightly. The precursors are myths, stories told to frighten children. They are very real, Lord Admiral. Ambassador Okonkwo has met with them. They have been watching all of us, waiting to see what we would become. And they have given us a choice. Kira stepped forward to stand beside Reed. The precursors believe that human medical science may hold the key to curing your plague. Our genetic research has developed techniques that your scientists have never explored. Combined with knowledge the precursors are willing to share, we can save your species from extinction. In exchange for what? Threx demanded. Surely you do not offer this out of kindness. We are coming to destroy you. We know. And yes, we want something in return. We want peace. Real peace, not just the absence of war, but genuine cooperation between our species. Threx made a sound that might have been laughter. You want us to abandon our attack because you offer promises of a cure that may not exist? I can prove it exists. Helena held up her datapad. I'm transmitting detailed research data to your medical officers right now. Everything we know about human genetic therapy, combined with the precursor's analysis of your condition. Your doctors can verify that what I'm proposing is possible. And why should we trust you? You destroyed an entire species when you felt threatened. How do we know this is not some elaborate trap? Reed took a deep breath. You don't. That's the point. Trust has to begin somewhere. We are asking you to trust us, and in return, we are trusting you not to destroy the ship while your doctors examine the data. We could simply take the information and kill you anyway. You could, but then you would never get the rest. The full treatment protocols, the specialized equipment designs, the implementation procedures. All of that stays with us until we have a guarantee of peace. Threx was silent for a long time. Around the diplomatic ship, Nexari weapons remained locked on target. One command from the Lord Admiral would turn them all to atoms. Finally, Threx spoke. We will examine your data. If our medical officers confirm that your cure is viable, we will discuss terms. But if this is a deception, Ambassador, there will be no mercy. We will destroy every human world and salt the ground so nothing ever grows there again. Understood? The communication channel closed. Reed let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. Now we wait, Kira said. They waited for 4 hours while Nexari doctors examined Helena's research. 4 hours of sitting in a small ship surrounded by warships that could destroy them in an instant. 4 hours of wondering if they had just made the worst mistake in human history. When the communication channel opened again, it was not Threx who appeared, but a different Nexari. This one was older, with faded carapace and eyes that had seen centuries of struggle. I am High Physician Vex, Chief Medical Officer of the Nexari Dominion. I have reviewed your research. Helena leaned forward. And it is remarkable. Your understanding of genetic repair mechanisms is far beyond anything we have achieved. Combined with the precursor analysis, I believe your proposed treatment would work. It would save my people. Vex paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was softer. I have spent my entire life watching my species die slowly. Every generation, the plague claims more of us. I have buried children who should have outlived me by centuries. I had accepted that extinction was inevitable. You have given us hope, Dr. Vasquez. I do not know if you understand what that means to us. Helena's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I think I do. Threx reappeared on the screen beside Vex. I have consulted with the High Council of the Dominion. They have authorized me to negotiate terms for a ceasefire. Reed felt something loosen in his chest. We are prepared to discuss whatever terms you consider appropriate. The terms are simple. You will provide us with the complete cure and everything needed to implement it. In exchange, the Dominion will withdraw its fleets from human space and enter into a formal peace treaty. We will share our technology with your species, and we will jointly petition the Galactic Council to grant humanity full diplomatic status. That's more than we expected to ask for. Threx's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. You are offering to save our species from extinction, Ambassador. We are not without gratitude. There is one more condition, Vex added. High Physician Vex wishes to travel to Earth and work directly with Dr. Vasquez on implementing the cure. He says he wants to learn from her and to ensure that no detail is lost in translation. Helena nodded. I would be honored to have him. As the conversation continued, working out the details of the peace agreement, Reed stepped away from the group. Kira followed him to the observation window, where they could see the vast Nexaray fleet spreading across the stars. We did it, Kira said softly. We actually did it. Not yet. This is just the beginning. The peace treaty will need to be ratified. The cure will need to be implemented. And there are still hundreds of other species out there who think we're monsters. But we proved that we don't have to be. We proved that humans can choose mercy over destruction. Reed nodded slowly. The precursors were testing us, weren't they? They wanted to see if we could be something more than just another violent species. I think they've been testing every species they've encountered. Most of them have failed. And us? Kira smiled. I think we just passed the first exam. But I suspect there will be many more to come. Outside the window, the Nexari fleet began to change formation. Ships that had been arranged for attack were repositioning themselves into escort patterns around the small human diplomatic vessel. For the first time in weeks, the galaxy seemed just a little less hostile. But neither Reed nor Kira knew that far away. On Earth, something terrible was happening. Admiral Stone's transmission had done more than just reveal humanity's secrets to the major powers. It had also been received by others. Beings who had no interest in peace or mercy. Beings who had been waiting for exactly this opportunity. And they were already on their way. The warning came too late. While Ambassador, Reed was negotiating peace with the Nexari. Something emerged from the dark regions beyond mapped space. A fleet unlike anything the galaxy had seen in 10,000 years. Ships that looked like they had been grown rather than built, covered in organic armor that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. Thousands of them, then tens of thousands, pouring through a region of space that had been empty for millennia. The Devourers had returned, the oldest records in the Galactic Council's archives spoke of them in fearful whispers. They were the reason the precursors had united the galaxy in the first place. A species that consumed other species, not for resources or territory, but because consumption was their nature. They had been driven into the void millions of years ago, defeated by the combined might of every civilization in existence. Now they were back. And they were hungry. The first world they reached was a small colony on the edge of explored space. 20,000 people lived there, members of a dozen different species. The Devourers consumed them all in less than an hour. Not just killed, consumed. Absorbed into the biomass of their living ships. Their memories and experiences, in very essence, becoming fuel for the endless hunger dot by the time the Galactic Council realized what was happening. 3 more worlds had fallen. Ambassador Reed received the news while still aboard the diplomatic ship, now escorted by Nexari warships back toward human space. His face went pale as he read the reports. "They're heading straight for the heart of the galaxy," he said. "At their current speed, they'll reach the Council homeworld in less than 2 weeks." Lord Admiral Threx's image appeared on the view screen. The Nexari commander's usual confidence was gone, replaced by something that looked very much like fear. "My people have legends about the Devourers. Stories of the long dark, when they swept across the galaxy, consuming everything in their path. I always thought they were myths. They're very real," Kira said grimly. "And they've been waiting." Admiral Stone's transmission didn't just reach the major powers. It reached whatever pocket of void the Devourers had been hiding in. They know the galaxy is divided and weak. They know that the precursors have been absent for millions of years. They think this is the perfect time to return. Dr. Helena Vasquez had been silent, studying data on her pad. Now she looked up with an expression that mixed horror with scientific fascination. "I've been analyzing the sensor data from the consumed worlds. The Devourers aren't just eating people. They're absorbing their genetic material, their memories, their knowledge. Every species they consume makes them stronger and smarter. That explains how they've advanced so much since they were driven out," Reed said. "They've been consuming unknown species in the void, building up their strength." "What do we do?" Captain Webb asked. "Our remaining Genesis device might be able to destroy a few of their ships. But there are tens of thousands of them. And using the device would confirm every fear the galaxy has about humanity," Kira added. "The other species would never trust us again." Reed was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then he turned to face the view screen. "Lord Admiral Threx, I have a proposal." "I am listening, Ambassador." "Humanity's Genesis device destroys things. But Dr. Vasquez has spent her career learning how to repair genetic damage, how to rebuild what has been broken. What if we approach this problem from a different angle?" Helena's eyes widened as she understood what Reed was suggesting. "You want to reverse engineer the Devourers. Find their biological weaknesses. Every species has vulnerabilities. The Devourers have been consuming others for millions of years, which means they carry genetic material from countless different life forms. That complexity must create weaknesses, points of conflict in their biology." Threx's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Our scientists could work with yours. The Nexari have extensive experience with biological warfare from our own history. And the precursors," Kira said slowly. "They defeated the Devourers once before. They must know something about how to stop them." Reed nodded. "We need to bring everyone together. Humanity, the Nexari, the collective of minds, even the species that hate us. The Devourers don't care about our politics or our grudges. They'll consume everyone equally. The next 48 hours were the most intense in galactic history. Ambassador Reed addressed the Galactic Council. Standing once again on the speaker's platform, where he had first threatened the assembled powers with extinction. But this time, his message was different. "I know what you think of us," he said. "Monsters, destroyers, the species that erased the Valfin from existence. You're right to be afraid of what we can do. But right now, something worse is coming. The Devourers don't care that we're enemies. They don't care about our treaties or our borders. They will consume every single one of us unless we find a way to stop them together. Humanity has weapons that can destroy worlds. We've proven that. But we've also proven something else in the past few days. We've proven that we can choose mercy instead of destruction. We've proven that we can save our enemies instead of annihilating them. The Nexari were coming to destroy us. Instead of fighting them, we offered them a cure for the plague that was killing their species. Now they stand with us as allies. I'm asking you to give humanity another chance. Not because we deserve it, but because the alternative is extinction for all of us. The Council debated for hours, while the Devourer fleet continued its advance. Species that had hated each other for centuries were forced to consider working together. Ancient grudges were weighed against the threat of absolute annihilation. In the end, fear won out over hatred. A coalition formed, the largest military alliance in galactic history. Thousands of species contributed ships, soldiers, scientists, and resources. Dr. Helena Vasquez led a team of researchers from dozens of worlds, working around the clock to find a weakness in the Devourer biology. And the precursors, watching from wherever they had been hiding, finally revealed themselves. Their ship appeared at the edge of the Coalition fleet, the same ancient vessel that had carried Kira to meet them. A message broadcast to every ship in the combined armada. Children of the galaxy, we have watched you for a very long time. We have seen you fight and kill and destroy each other. We had almost given up hope. But in your darkest hour, you have surprised us. The humans, the species you most feared, have chosen to unite you rather than conquer you. They have shown that the capacity for mercy exists, even in those capable of great destruction. The Devourers are our greatest failure. We thought we had destroyed them. We were wrong. Now we will make amends. We cannot fight this battle for you, but we can give you the tools to fight it yourselves. Data streamed from the precursor ship to every vessel in the fleet. Blueprints for weapons that could disrupt the Devourer's collective consciousness. Coordinates for the vulnerable point S in their fleet formation. And most importantly, a genetic sequence. A biological code that would cause the Devourer's consumed matter to reject itself, tearing their living ships apart from the inside. Use these gifts wisely, children. Show us that you deserve to survive. The battle that followed would be remembered for 10,000 years. The Devourers fought with the accumulated knowledge of every species they had ever consumed. They adapted to weapons almost as soon as they were deployed. They seemed to anticipate every tactical move the Coalition made, but they had never faced anything like this coalition. Nexari warriors fighting alongside human soldiers. Crystalline beings from the collective of minds, coordinating psychic attacks with biological weapons designed by cross-species scientific teams. Former enemies protecting each other from certain death. Dr. Vasquez's genetic weapon worked exactly as the precursors had promised. When it was deployed, Devourer ships began tearing themselves apart, their absorbed matter rejecting the foreign biology that had enslaved it. The screams of 1,000,000 consumed souls being freed echoed through space as ship after ship collapsed into chaos. The Devourer fleet broke and fled, retreating back toward the void from which they had emerged. They were not destroyed, but they were defeated. It would be generations before they could threaten the galaxy again. In the aftermath, Ambassador Reed stood once more before the Galactic Council. This time, he was not alone. Lord Admiral Threx stood beside him, along with representatives from every species that had fought in the Coalition. "We have shown what we can accomplish together," Reed said. "The question now is whether we will remember this lesson when the immediate threat has passed." The Arbiter, ancient and eternal, spoke with a voice that carried the weight of millennia. Humanity has been tested, first by their own capacity for destruction, then by their ability to choose mercy, and finally by their willingness to stand with those who feared them most. The Council has reached a decision. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Compact, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. The chamber erupted in a sound that might have been applause, might have been shock, might have been the beginning of something entirely new. Reed allowed himself a small smile. Then he turned to look at Kira, who was watching from the gallery with tears streaming down her face. "What happens now?" she asked when they met after the ceremony. "Now we build something better. We have a chance, maybe the first real chance in galactic history, to create a community based on cooperation instead of fear. Do you think it will work?" Reed was quiet for a moment, thinking of Ambassador Lydia Cole, who had died trying to bring peace to the stars. Thinking of the 11 billion Valfin his species had erased in a moment of terrible rage. Thinking of all the mistakes they had made and all the chances they had been given. "I don't know," he admitted. "Humans have a remarkable capacity for both creation and destruction. So does every other species in this galaxy. The precursors were right about one thing. What we become is a choice. We chose mercy when we could have chosen revenge. We chose unity when we could have chosen isolation. We chose to be better than our worst instincts." He looked out at the stars visible through the chamber's vast windows. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were licking their wounds, waiting for another chance. Somewhere out there, species that had fought together yesterday were already finding new reasons to distrust each other. The galaxy was vast and complicated and dangerous, but it was also full of possibility. "We killed their envoy," Kira said softly, remembering how all of this had started. "The Valfin. They killed Ambassador Cole, and we responded with extinction. Yes, and the galaxy was shocked by our response. They thought that defined who we were. Does it?" Reed shook his head slowly. "It was one choice among many. A terrible choice made in grief and rage. But it wasn't our last choice, and it won't be. That's the thing about being human. We're capable of the worst atrocities and the greatest compassion, sometimes in the same breath. What matters is which one we choose to act on when it counts. Today, we chose compassion. Tomorrow, we'll have to choose again." He turned away from the window to face the future that was waiting for them. "And every day after that, for as long as our species exists. That's what it means to be human. We're always choosing what we want to become." Outside, the stars burned eternal, indifferent to the struggles of the tiny creatures who sailed between them. But for the first time in a very long time, those tiny creatures were sailing together, and that made all the difference.